colleagues, people who are joining virtually, and students. You are highly welcome to this seminar series. For today, we're looking at the application of integrated quantitative interpretation techniques in exploration and production of mineral resources, the oil and gas. You would bear witness, or will bear witness, that this is an academic environment. This is an academia, and how we've been doing, mostly we dwell more on the theoretical aspect of knowledge, though we are aware that the practical is very important, and that's why we send students on SciWest to go and see how it is being done out there. But today, we have the honor of having in our midst an accomplished professional in the field with over 40 years of experience, who will be dissecting and will be, they've been there, they've seen how the size, they rose from being workers to being managers. And so we are really fortunate to have such person here in the person of Dr. Peterson, who will take us through the seminar series for today. So I implore us to be patient, to be attentive, and that when it's time for questions and answers, we should not hesitate to put forward our questions, because that's why we are here. It's our expectation that our knowledge would have increased at the end of the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure we are all eager to listen to the lecture. But before we do that, we'll quickly have to know who the guest lecturer is. And to help us do that, I want to call on Ms. Banjo Anjolua to help us read out the citation of the guest lecturer.
Standing on the existing protocol, I'll humbly request that the guest lecturer to be on his feet while I read his citation. Dr. Timothy Oladapo Peterson. Dr. Timothy is the chairman, CEO of the NAMPED group of companies housing NAMPED Ventures Limited for plastic manufacturing, printing, and recycling. NAMPED Geophysical Consulting Limited, focusing on oil, gas, subsurface studies, solid mineral exploration, production, and trading in gold, gemstones, and coal. Dr. Timothy has over 30 years oil and gas industry working experience, 23 years in which was in Shell production, in Shell petroleum development companies, spanning from geophysical analysis of subsurface data to predicting hydrocarbon presence and type away from well controls to heading the integrated subsurface studies team responsible for delivering field reviews and field development plans in many oil and gas fields, and retired on the 31st of March 2010 as one of the regional managers for IT production portfolio in Shell Africa region. Dr. Timothy is a proven leader and result-oriented leader with experience in oil and gas exploration, subsurface oil and gas field development, project and IT application portfolio management. He had the opportunity of managing people from different cultural and geographical settings around the world, working for the Shell Group of Netherlands and Nigeria. Dr. Timothy is a seasoned quantitative 3D, 4D seismic interpreter who worked in exploration and production engineering functions predicting reservoir properties and hydrocarbon accumulation away from wellbore in green and brown fields. He has a wealth of experience using seismic data to carry out amplitude versus offset analysis, multi-offset seismic inversion, and other state-of-the-art techniques in resolving production problems in producing fields. Dr. Timothy is a team player who led an integrated subsurface review team in support of field development plans for both oil and gas fields. He has experience in managing IT at the global scale for Shell Africa. Since retiring in 2010, as one of the regional managers responsible for production IT portfolio, Dr. Timothy is now an independent geophysical consultant for the international and national oil companies, carrying out field development and prospectivity reviews with experience from studies carried out in the younger sedimentary basin of Niger Delta, the Tano Basin in Ghana, the mixed sandstone conglomerate setting in the Congo basins, and much more consolidated Rutledgian sandstone and Northeast Europe. Dr. Timothy has a working experience of solid mineral geophysical investigation using aeromagnetics and ground-penetrating resonance data to predict and delineate gold and other gemstones occurrence in soft and hard rocks, and to predict the structure and ore placements in the study areas. Dr. Timothy has a working knowledge of petroleum and solid mineral economic evaluation and assisted in petroleum and solid mineral acreage discussions leading to issuance of oil production and mining licenses, and the negotiation and firming up of the production sharing agreement in and outside the shores of Nigeria. Dr. Timothy is a visiting lecturer at the Shell Petroleum Center of Excellence, University of Benin, Nigeria, sharing his experiences in rock science, quantitative seismic interpretation analysis, AVO, and seismic inversion techniques with the postgraduate students since 2015 to date. Dr. Timothy is a member of the Society of Exploration Geophysicists, Tesla USA, member of Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, and the inducted member of the Nigerian Council of Mining and Geoscientists, many others, among others. He is also an alumni of the prestigious IMD, International Institution for Management Development in Lucerne, Switzerland, where he attended the Business School for Management and Leadership course in 2019 under the Shell International Oil Company. Dr. Timothy has written, delivered, and contributed to many technical reports on quantitative seismic interpretation and reservoir characterization studies, field development plans, and specialized studies in oil, gas, and solid minerals. With this, I would like to introduce the guest speaker of today. Thank you.
My VC sir, I salute you. He's not only my VC, he's a friend, he's a brother. I thank you. I'm here to support you. Sorry, I have no qualms about that. Otherwise, I don't know this place. And anywhere you go, I will be there to just give you my little support, sir. And many of your friends wish you well. You know, we love you and we are praying for your success, you know. So, the Dean, I greet you. You know, I'm not a formal man, okay? The HOD, I salute you. And all the students and the doctors, the professors, and everyone. I bring you greetings from my friends, especially from my wife. She would have loved to be here, but she's currently challenged. So pray that she should be well soon. When we had discussion with my prof, you know, he has a way of turning. When you give him something, he will turn it around, and when he plays it back to you, it's more beautiful than the way you presented it to him. I've been challenged to tell you my story of how I have applied my QI expert, QI techniques in the oil and gas business, as well as the solid mineral business. And that's what I'm going to do this morning or this afternoon. It's very easy for me, but I've been given 3 hours. It's a seminar. Seminar means I have to tell you, give you some information, and then from there, we can now sit down and judge and have a discussion. So what I'm going to do for the first 1.5, 2 hours is to set the scene relating to what is my definition of QI. What do I mean? I've been introduced, so I don't need to introduce myself again. I'm going to tell you what is QI. I'm going to tell you how I have applied it in the oil and gas business, and I will share my experiences with you so that you will do better than what I have done. And the third one is I'm going to tell you how I have applied it in solid mineral exploration. I joined solid mineral after I retired in 2010. It's a beautiful field to be in Nigeria now. I will encourage all of you to look into that area. There is money there. There is money there. Then I will tell you about some concluding remarks and recommendations. I've assumed an undergraduate level experience, which is difficult for me. I've never handled geophysics at an undergraduate level. So I will be referring to first principles. Otherwise, I will lose you. So please bear with me, especially the gurus here, when I'm going back to convolution theory. Because I remember when I first joined Shell, and I was asked, can I have water, please? Okay. Sorry, I had fever, so I took fever medicine this morning. No problem. But when I first joined Shell, during the interview, I was shown a seismic section. When they showed me the seismic section, in the interview, they said, what is this? I did have no clue of what seismic is in my life. I'm a bloody mathematician, complex analyst. I was looking at Riemann surfaces, looking at normal families. Those ones don't bring money. So luckily in Shell, they don't care what you read. They try to check what is your level of, comprehension. Despite the fact that I did not have a clue of what seismic is all about, yet I was taken in Shell. So that put some thought in my brain. As much as possible, I will make sure that any university I have, I link with, I will introduce seismic to them. So, what is quantitative seismic interpretation technique? why is it different from seismic interpretation? Quantitative seismic interpretation is the skillful integration of geophysical, geological, reservoir engineering, petrophysical, and even production data to help in getting to a predictive determination of a reservoir property. The focus is on the reservoir. The technique is geophysics. The data is from all the disciplines. And the collaboration is integration. Without integration, there is no QI. That is, so if you want to know about QI, QI is using as many data as possible to, in an integrated format, to resolve a subsurface challenge using seismic as a boundary condition. The focus is business. We are not here to do theory. And I thank God to the HOD. I'm here to present application. Your lecturers will tell you about the theory. I'm only going to, go into the theory when, for selfish reasons, to drive home my points. So, here, reservoir is the key. Seismic is the boundary condition. Wherever there is a well, fine. We use it to link the reservoir. If there is no log, we do other things, which we will come to later via the rock physics. So, we have QI taking data from petrophysics, for instance, the wire logs, the mud logs, the RFTs, and from the geologists, the biostrats, then the geophysicists themselves, the core geophysicists in terms of the processors, the seismic acquisition guys that supply us the seismic, and the production guys that will give us the static model and the production, the reservoir engineer. All of this, from all this, for instance, in the reservoir engineering space, we take from them the reservoir parameters via the PVT analysis. And we use that in an integrated format to resolve a subsurface challenge. Note here, what is data? Data to me is the end product of the other discipline. Let's take an example. The petrophysicist will have finalized the log editing, all the sums. Thank you. Thank you. We'll have finalized the sums and averages. They will have done the petrophysical analysis. To him, that is the end result. But to me, that is the data I will use in my QI. This flow of information, just to be on the safe side, is not one way. is not only coming in from the petrophysicist to the QI person, from the analysis of the data and the result the QI is getting, maybe from the geologist, he may find out that no, that analysis that the petrophysicist did has a problem. So he will now go back to the petrophysicist to resolve the conflict in data. Note my definition of data now. It's the information from the different disciplines that may be their end report. The focus, again, is on the business. We are not doing it for doing sake. We are not doing it to resolve, to get PhD. We are doing it to understand what is there. We are doing it to resolve a business challenge. What type of business challenge? In this case, is the subsurface. How many people know what a subsurface is? Subsurface are those things below the ground. You see where I say I'm going to, anything below is subsurface. Everything above is surface. We, in oil and gas, we are interested in the subsurface because that is where the ego lays. Okay? Now, all this, like I said, are done in an integrated fashion, bringing in the different disciplines. In fact, some companies try to set up, thank you, what they call specialized QI team, Quantitative Seismic Interpretation Team. When we started, they call it Special Studies Team, where you will have, they will bring in, they will second a geologist to that team, a petrophysicist to that team, a reservoir engineer, a production geologist. I was opportuned to be part of the team, and I was also opportune to lead one of the teams during my career days. It's a specialized team, and it is normally to resolve subsurface issues. Now, what are the issues that are posed by by working in the EMP? The first one is prospectivity review. Prospectivity review means you want to find out whether what you are having, whether the place you are has oil or gas. So you try to do a study to find out whether it has a structure, whether it has the right reservoir property, whether it has porphyry, and in QI, we are privileged to be able to tell you what type of porphyry. When up to tomorrow, I can tell you where you are, whether you will see oil or gas. That is in the sphere of QI, quantitative seismic interpretation. We not only tell you that the interpreter will tell you there's a structure. The geologist will tell you, there is possibility of a basin, blah, blah, blah. We will tell you, yes, there is good sand. We will tell you, yes, there is hydrocarbon. And we will tell you the chance of success, the probability to find hydrocarbon. We will even go further to tell you the contacts, and I will show you example. What we mean by contact. When you have oil and gas, we'll be able to tell you the beginning and where the gas meets the oil and where the oil meets the water. We will be able to tell you. Sorry for... Sorry. So that is in the area of prospectivity review. Then reservoir characterization means how within that reservoir, how is it arranged? What is their connectivity? I will show you examples. How are they connected one to the other? Then field production optimization. When you are producing oil and gas, how fast, are there bypass oil? After you produce the oil for some time, there is the tendency that you may leave some oil behind. QI will be able to tell you where the bypass oil is. That is our job. But it is not, we cannot do that on our own. We will need the collaboration of all the other disciplines. So we do shallow gas and geohazards, mainly when they are drilling a well. That well, you must make sure that the place you are drilling, you will not encounter shallow gas. Because if you encounter shallow gas and you don't know, it may lead to a blowout. Because you will not be able to control it. You will not have arranged your mud weight to counteract the pressure that will come. We do it. Overpressure prediction, the same reason. If you assume hydrostatic pressure and you hit a zone that is not hydrostatic, you may lose your rig and your investment and possibly lives. So we take the lead together with others. I will be giving you examples, practical examples from this. But first of all, let me still introducing QI. There are different approaches to QI. The simple one is first start with data review, detailed log auditing, generating of synthetic seismogram to tie your log to your seismic. Then you establish your trends and code. This is simple. I will give you this as examples as we go around. But it can be as complex as this, depending on what are the challenges posed. For instance, in terms of when we are looking at inversion study, you will again start with data review, establish your acoustic trends, because the first thing you want to do is to tie in your logs where available to your seismic. Why? Two reasons. Where there is a well already drilled, that is a data point. One area. You tie in that well log to only a single seismic trace. The information you know about that field is only related to one data point. However, you want to predict away from the well. To predict away from the well, you must make sure that at that nodal point, which is the well, your seismic and your logs are properly tied together. The question of scaling will come. I will talk about that. So this is a given workflow. Build a priori model. Sometimes you may have to do 2 iterations. You may have to do interpretation of your surfaces before the inversion. After the inversion, you may have to refine your initial interpretations based on the additional value brought in by your inverted volumes. So, QI is done in 1D, synthetic seismogram generation. I will show you examples of that. Well to seismic matches, AVO, synthetic, Gassman fluid. By the way, my VC is a guru in AVO. So I have injected AVO, but I hope your people will be able to take it. But I will put it anyway. You understand, even if it's 2 or 3 people. Okay, but I'll put it, I've put some examples as well. So all this, forget about all this. What I'm trying to tell you is that QI, it sits in the center of a collaborative effort to address a business challenge, taking data from the other disciplines and working together in real time so that immediately they take one data from the other, they sit in a team, like in Shell. Shell is very good at that. Sorry, when Shell is my alma mater. It's still my best, it's still the best company in the world to me, okay? So it sits, you know, we are a specialized group. And you have geologists, just when you are in that meeting, you will be laughing because people will be, you know, challenging each other. The geologists will say, no, this is what the petrophysicists will be saying, no, this is not this. You, the leader, your role is to make sure that you listen to each person and teach your team to listen and respect each other. And you find out that a unique solution will come from listening to each other, comparing each other's data, and focusing on the challenge at hand. Integration, to me, is the key. No single discipline on its own can find oil or gas. Forget about the geologists that believe the world ends and starts and ends with them. Sorry, they are bloody geologists. Okay, don't get me. We always yab each other like that. Because they can only do it in a regional context. And when it comes to nitty-gritty interwell, they will still bow to seismic. Okay, full stop. So, why QI? To increase exploration successes. What does it mean? So that we should not drill dry wells. The cost of a well now is between $10 and $15 million. Some the cheapest maybe in Nigeria, maybe 10 million. Do you know what 10 million? If I get 10 million, I no go we underrate 10 million. The salary, any of you, I'm not, so don't get me. I work for how many years? I worked for 23 years. I didn't collect $3 million, even with all my take. You know what $10 million? And when you drill a well and it's wet, when we say wet, that means no hydrocarbon. That means that money is gone. That's 1 billion. How many naira is that? 10 million. So, do you know what that? I'm sure if I give some of you that half of that money, you will resign from the university. So, it is what the while doing it is what the while bringing a team together of different disciplines to bring to bear their expertise in an integrated way to resolve a business challenge. Now, let's go back to this. Please, this is now first principle discussion, this stage, because I have to use it to set the scene. The focus here is on the reservoir. The reservoir, what is the reservoir is made of sand shale in a classic setting in the Niger Delta. Okay, so you have shale, you have sand, you have shale, mostly paralic in Niger Delta. In the deep offshore, it's not necessarily paralic. It can be turbiditic. It is believed that oil is formed in the shale under certain favorable pressure, temperature, and depth, okay? Then from there, when it is well cooked, it starts finding its way up to porous formations. And if the structure is right, if there is a house means there is a seal, both lateral and top seal, that can accommodate the oil, it starts settling therein. And what are we looking for? Oil. So we want to understand this reservoir sands. It's not a big void. Only in Saudi that you see big voids. In the Niger Delta, they are they are not oil is not in one big underneath. So we want to know the porosity, the amount of void inside, between them. We want to know whether these voids are connected, permeability, whether they are connected, so that we want to know how easy hydrocarbon can flow within that sand. So that is the focus of QI. Now, when you drill a well, you drill 10 million here, you drill another one here, maybe some kilometers apart, you drill another one here, so many kilometers apart. Now, the question is, you are not done yet because you only know about this location. You only know about this location, but you don't know what is happening between the two wells. I call this interwell. Interwell. You don't know what is happening between them. And 1,000 may happen. You may see a sand here, you may see a sand here, but in between, the sand may disappear. So what happened? For you to understand what is in between, you need the contribution of seismic. And to get to that seismic, you have to understand the acoustic property of the rock. Because the rock we are talking about porosity, net over gross, permeability. They are all they are not in acoustic languages. That is not the language of seismic. The language of seismic is velocity, two-way time, is density, bulk modulus. So we want to be able to translate the language of the rock to the language of seismic. We can start from the language of the wells. We define the acoustic properties from the wells, because when we drill a well, we take some logs. We take logs, sonic, density, and other logs. From there, sonic and density, when we invert them, we get what we call, when we invert sonic, we get what we call velocity, the VP. And when we multiply sonic and density, we have what we call acoustic impedance. Let me, in a simplified version, and that is the one that is close to our seismic. We have what we call the synthetic trace. I will show that later. From there, the act or the process of tying in or deriving the acoustic properties of the rock is in the sphere of rock physics. I don't know whether you people teach rock physics here. Only masters, okay. I would strongly advocate, because rock physics is foundational to the whole concept of seismic. You better appreciate it. I've been teaching rock physics now since, Oga, you are there now. You know, and it's beautiful. When you appreciate rock physics, you will be swimming, you will be enjoying your seismic, because that is what ties in your rock properties to your seismic. So it's two ways. From your rock, you can derive your bulk modulus and all these other ones. And from your seismic, using inversion, you can derive your rock properties. This is the simple cartoon. From here, you can derive the rock physics models. Some universities, like Stanford University and co, they've spent a lot of time deriving relationships of the actual measurement from rocks and their elastic properties. And there are a lot of formulas, you know, for that. But you don't need to worry yourself. If you have your application, you just press, you will get it. But the danger therein is, if you don't know what you are looking for, if they say put two, and you put two, you may not know what you are doing. So, but this is in the realm of rock physics modeling. This is in the realm of inversion. I will show you practical examples about that. Quickly. So, what am I trying to tell you? in this phase of the lecture. 1, quantitative seismic interpretation is the use of seismic attributes to predict reservoir properties by integrating the derived acoustic and elastic responses from well logs with that from seismic. Please, if you have questions, just write them down. We will have a lot of time to discuss. Please take, this is the slide number, so that you just, any of the slides you want explanation on, we can come back. I have backup slides. I have a lot that I can use to explain later, but I want to pass an information first. Then it is the process of integrating different knowledge. The knowledge of geology, geophysics, production geology, and the rest in arriving at the prediction of the reservoir property. So yes, QI sits at the center, but it cannot take all the glory. It needs the brain power, the data, and the experience of the other disciplines involved. But a good knowledge of the rock properties, the acoustic responses, and then the related seismic responses are key to the success of a QI study. So who is a QI specialist? A jack of all trade, a generalist indeed, a generalist indeed, who has a broad-based knowledge, and it's not Catholic. Sorry, I'm not using Catholic in the derogatory. He listens to every other person, but his own specialist is sound knowledge of rock physics, sound knowledge of geophysics, sound knowledge of rock mechanics, which include, I would call it geomechanics, which includes soil as well as rock. And he must have knowledge of geostatistics. I found out that those key disciplines are very important for a QI specialist to know. But he must also have a good awareness of the principles of geophysics, geology. He must know the different rock types. And he must be able to know the language of each of his disciplines. Let me explain that. What is the language of a petrophysicist? When a petrophysicist says, my log is, or my porosity is 20.22% or PU. The petrophysicist is using the scale of his measurement is 0.5 feet. That is the scale of his measurement. The seismic interpreter, the scale, the minimum scale he is talking about is 4 milliseconds. And 4 milliseconds is about 20 feet. Whereas the geologist is even talking in terms of 0.01 of a foot, 0.001. Because when he's looking at those is what they call it, Fozu and Foranafara, all those jargons, you find out that when they are trying to characterize those things, they are looking in tiny, very tiny bits. So when a petrophysicist say, no, my predicted the porosity as 22.5. And the geophysicists say, no, I predicted at 24. You must know their language, that both of them are correct, because their scale is what? Different. This man is looking at nano units. This man is looking at 20-foot interval. You know what 20-foot interval is? So that means a seismic person cannot know we that are sitting down here. You are surprised. He can't see us that are here on seismic. If they acquire seismic above. Whereas the reservoir engineer, he doesn't care. He will ask you. So his own is even bigger. There was a very good argument. The petrophysicist, this is real life. The petrophysicist was saying, it's 22.4, 22.4. The other guy said, no, it's 24. It was leading to real argument. You know what the reservoir engineer said? He said, you, these bloody people. You say it's what? Your own is 22.4. Your own, you say, is 24. Okay. If I put my own between 20 and 25, is that okay? So you can see. In his simulation, he can accommodate a wider bandwidth. So when you are in such an integrated team, you tend to appreciate each other's language, noting that all of you may be correct. So I've put in knowledge of IT because a good QI person must know most of the available interpretation packages. The latest. Because the more, he will then be able to sweat the data, to be able to throw in more tools, to be able to get out what he wants. But be careful. I do not preach tool first before you knowing what you want to do. You must know what you want to do before you can put in the tool. There are many young graduates that they will just be playing Nintendo. Interpretation is not Nintendo. It's a science. You must know the province you are. And it's not just clicking because that is what the interpretation platforms expect you to do. Quickly. So, application now. The first one is, I'm going to talk about the well to seismic tie, which I've already covered, but I'm now going to give you examples. But before anything in QI, the first thing you need is proper, good quality data. Any other thing you do, garbage in, garbage out. Many studies fail because they do not take the time to do good QA/QC of their data. So, from my experience and in all the studies, and even when I was leading an integrated team, the first thing I always insist in any study I've led, I will say, devote 1 week to doing QA/QC. So all the disciplines are involved. They will come in They will look at each of the data. What do you say there is a log? How many logs? Put it down. What do you have? Seismic, put it down. Then you must have a standard. What do you mean by a good well data? For instance, if you have density, how do you know the density is good? If it's within the Niger Delta and you have a density that is reading 10 to 15 gram per cc, you know that there is something fishy. So you flag it. Is it a shifting datum or what have you? So you try to know. Go and study all the reports on that area, so that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's not rocket science. You don't have all the time in the world. And by the way, you are being paid. Especially as a consultant, my time is very precious. Even now, every company, they will give you deadlines. So you have to make sure that you have a robust data. This is an example of what the process. Again, it's always good to have what we call a flow chart, at least for posterity. When we finish a project, any process we take and it is, we love it, we come up with a flow chart for that. So the people coming behind us do not need to reinvent the wheel. They will use our own as a springboard and build on it rather than reinventing their own workflow again. So this is, for instance, the checklist for data quality, and this is the data atlas using the traffic light color. Green means they are there, they are hunky-dory, we've checked them, they are okay. Then the red means they are not there. If it's amber, that means there's something wrong. For instance, if you want me to do a QI study and you don't have the acoustic logs, you don't have sonic and density, I will not be able to do justice to that study, because I need the acoustic logs to tie that log to my seismic. So a priori, I will not waste my client's time and I will not waste my time. I will flag it back to my client and say, look, the data is incomplete for me to do this study. And the project closes within 1 week. He shakes my hand, I shake his hand. At least he must pay me for, sorry, I'm talking as a consultant. He must pay me for that 1 week. But I've saved him a lot of money, and he has saved me a lot of time, So that is what we should do, underlining everything. In fact, during the process, if you say I should do multi-offset inversion, and I don't have a shear log, I will not be able to do a good justice for AVO and what have you. So I will now have to say, this thing you are telling me to do, okay, can I use a nearby well? Can I do this? So we will have to renegotiate your time of reference.
No.
Now, so let me give you an example now of improving QI. Simple. The first one is this. Most of you that are geologists here, this is the depth trend of impedance. So you have depth in the Y and impedance, or you can call it sonic. You can also cross-plot depth versus sonic. So you have the classical compaction trend. You know, compaction trend with increase in depth, your sand gets what? Consolidated. So you have increase in impedance. If you had stopped with this and you use this trend only in predicting or in using only this in your model, you will have missed it. Look at this. Taking a closer look at this, we were able to see that, this straight line is not straight indeed. That within each of these, you can see some circles. That is the first one. Then we went to the geologist. My geologist, can you put a sense to this? Why am I having these localized trends? Because the first one makes classical sense. But we find out that my geologist said, this corresponds to the positional circles. And he can take it back to his own model and say, this, where will he be looking for the flooding surfaces? Here. You will now say, okay, this. So if the area we are doing our study is here, we will not use this straight line. We will use this line to take as our brine line. And from there, we can now redivide this bigger trend into smaller, depositionally related compaction trends. So the trends are not uniform. The compaction is not uniform across, the total depth range. Another one is, this is VS over VP. VS is the shear log. VP is sonic inverse. So VP is the P velocity. VS is the S velocity. In terms of our wear logs, VP is inverse of sonic. Sonic is transit, measure transit time, whereas VS measures velocity. When you cross-plot the two, you can already start to have clear trends that you can use to check whether what you are having is brine or gas related. Here, this is classical university trend showing that here we expect to be able to better predict hydrocarbon, in this case, gas, from brine with increase in porosity, And it also shows that with increase in porosity, you have a decrease in velocity. Do you people get the reason why you have a decrease in velocity with increase in porosity? Who can tell me? Thank you, but I'm okay because of the pore spaces. Okay, the pore spaces. When you are talking about the more compacted your media is, the faster your velocity. If they become less compacted, then you have an issue. So let me rush through some of the examples that are less, maybe more exotic. There are many ways you can predict hydrocarbon. Many ways. For instance, using the Stanford University relationship, which we have here. This is university, they've doctored them. So you see the straight line. But now when you are coming to real life, this is sonic versus shear log. Is still the same relationship as the first one, but is upside down. And it's telling you that indeed, this is the water line, this is the oil line, and it shows that, with this, I will be able to predict gas or hydrocarbon from my brine. If you cannot predict you have a monitor. So what do you do? If you look at it, this cloud is the same cloud. This is looking at the model. Look at M1. If you talk the mod line, if you look at it, if you talk this line will go and in the different trend and pattern, You now see that how they predict your time. From if you project from this side to your time, your oil trend and your gas trend. So immediately, if you get this, that means in this new space, you will now be able to predict easily your oil and gas and water. Easily. Whereas in the first space, you will not be able. Therefore, if I have my IP volume, that is P impedance volume, and I have my S impedance volume, and I translate it with this theta, and I will show you an example, you will have a clearer picture of your hydrocarbons. Itato hidden. This we've applied, and to one company, they were just drilling wells. They've drilled almost close to 20-something wells. They will just see smoke quickly, you know. They were just drilling those wells. But when we translated this, the difference is as clear as, in quote, 7-up. So this is possible. It's already recognized by, I got this from, Schlumberger. This is the mud rock line. That is from Castanya. The beauty is if you know your first principle very well, you will now be able to recreate anything they are saying. And this was what happened in this sense. Let me give you an example of what happened and how we were now able to quickly resolve what we didn't know exist before. This was the results we got from just applying that transformation. Let me show you the seismic. See, all this start coming up. Because we have enhanced we've discriminated between what we call the little cube from the fluid cube. You know, I don't want to speak too much, grammar, so I will not lose you people more. But we've been able to enhance what is happening. We've been able to enhance this, than it too not seen. These were the wells they drill. Let me show you. See, all these blue wells were the wells they drilled before. And you see, they miss a lot of, what they call it. They miss a lot of hydrocarbon. See this well. Then they saw here. They didn't see this one. This one only saw at the deeper level. Now, when you now come in here, if you look at the two, they will have used a scooper. You know what we mean by a scooper? They will have drilled a well like that. And they will have, just with one well, they will have been able to target all these hydrocarbon. These hydrocarbon, you see, these are all hydrocarbon bearing zones. They will have been able to see them straight rather than drilling so many wells. Let me show. So these are the interpretations. And see, these are the straight wells they drilled. And they didn't see anything. They didn't see much, not that they didn't see. Whereas, see all the missed opportunities, even at this level. Then the natural question will be, were those people just sleeping? No. What happened? integration of efforts, and just looking at the seismic from another different angle. So you can move away from the bush. That's what I'm saying. Look at it in a different way, totally. Don't come to one side. Look at it from a different angle, and what you get, these people, they went to their country smiling. So, all these are old wealth now. Now they now understood technology has helped us. This is not dedicated. This is scuba. You know, it's a scuba. You know, I wanted, you know, I showed you, we've been drilling, in shell, we've been drilling wells, you know, we've been drilling, let me show you the one we drilled in Egypt. For now. So I'll just quickly move to one or two things I wanted you to know before I. This is the type of well I expected them to have drilled. This one. You understand? So you know, the white one is the synthetic along the well bore. The white, that is a well to seismic tile. That is a well to seismic tile. Because let me quickly, I think I can introduce well to seismic tile before I lost you. So what we're saying is, look, just turning everything around, we were able to predict. We were able to see more, you know, into the seismic. We were able to enhance, you know, the hydrocarbon compared to the lithology. Oh, okay. We were able to enhance, you know, the pore field effect. And we are saying you can get that one and tie them. Quickly, I think just for your principle, please, again, this teaching, we have the rock. The rock, this is, let's assume shales, sand, and this. So within this sand, if you take the log, this is the way the acoustic will look like. So within that, we will have each of these layers can be characterized by rho VP. Rho, density, VP, velocity. So with rho VP, you can characterize each of these, you can get the acoustic impedances of each of the layers. And from there, please, do you people know what we mean by reflectivity coefficient? Talk now. If you don't know, I go talk, I go show you. So now, reflectivity coefficient is, short form, we call it RFC, okay? So it's the contrast in impedance between adjacent lithologies. So bounding lithologies. Bounding lithologies. So when you have lithology A on top of lithology B, the reflective coefficient is the acoustic impedance of lithology A minus the acoustic impedance of lithology B minus the acoustic impedance of lithology A over the sum of the two acoustic impedances. And that is all what seismic is all about. Everything we talk about seismic is talking about reflectivity. And from there, you convolve it with a wavelet to get what we call the synthetic seismogram, one trace. And it is this one trace that represents your well out of the legions of seismic that you might have. So when you want to get the synthetic seismogram of this, you generate your reflectivity, you convolve with your wavelet. This wavelet must be the same wavelet as the one they use in your seismic processing. And then you can now have what we call your well to seismic tie. Let me give you an example of a tie. See, I sense, so you have your lithology, different lithologies. Even within this, I will not go to that detail. So this is now your V log. Your V log is your velocity log. V log, velocity log. Rho is your density log. When you multiply the two together, you get your rho V, which now gives you your impedance log. From your impedance log, you get your reflectivity. Because I said, what is your reflectivity? The difference between the impedance from the bottom to the one to the top and their sum. So what is the thing controlling the sign, whether it's negative or positive? It is whether the impedance of the layer below is less or greater than the impedance of the one above. Where you see that the impedance of the layer below is less than that of above, you will have a negative reflective coefficient. If it is the other way, you will have a positive reflective coefficient. So if you have a shale, a competent shale, overlaying a sand, a competent shale, the impedance is higher because the velocity is higher, because the molecules in the shale are more compacted. So you have higher velocity compared to the sand. So the reflectivity, the impedance at the top is higher for shale than the bounding sound below it. So your reflectivity will be what? Negative. I hope you get that one. So here, this is negative. So you have this one. When you now convolve it with your wavelet, you get your synthetic trace. Because this gave me some issues when I was younger. So I wanted to expand on this. When you have this is your reflectivity series, and this is your wavelet. Note that it's asymmetrical along the reflectivity. So this is called zero phase wavelet. That is called zero phase wavelet. You also have minimum phase wavelet. So for each of these levels, for each of these, you have your reflectivity series. You still have your reflectivity series, depending on each one is convolved with the same wavelength, and you then add each one of these together. You add each one of these together to get your, what we call synthetic seismogram. So your synthetic seismogram may not honor your, you may not even be able to bring it back to whether it's zero phase or not zero phase, because the zero phase assumption is already made from the start when you are convoluting with the wavelength. So when you are summing the thing up, the result may be different from what you have. And that is now your synthetic trace. This synthetic trace represents the seismic along your well. And this is now your, if you multiply it many times, the same thing, just for you to see. So this is just one of them. That is what we mean by synthetic trace. It's not rocket science. So this is what we are talking. So you have to tie this, your synthetic trace, to your seismic. This blue is seismic. You tie it to your synthetic from your well. So this is a well to seismic tie. From there, you will now be able to say, this marker is this loop. This marker is this loop. The same thing with this one. The same thing with this. In areas where you have marked velocity changes, like where you have salt, you might have what we call Hubra effect. Are you people aware of Hubra effect? Ray bending effect. Ray bending effect. If I have a glass of water and I fill it with half a glass and I put a straw inside and I look from the side, what do you see? It will bend. Does it mean the straw has bent? So that is ray bending effect. So the apparent position has shifted due to changes in velocity. And that also happens in seismic. For instance, this was the well to seismic tie in Netherlands, looking at the Rotliegen, and this was the actual well position, but that has moved apparently to this place. If we had done a well to seismic match here, we will not get it right. So we have to move the well to seismic match here to this place. And in that place, we have what we can quantify the magnitude of the ray bending. I did that for 1 year. Okay. So this is now a scooper well, deviated well, targeting. You see the fault at the front, and it's targeting all this. So you can now say, this one, it's not always 100% perfect, but at least it gives you an idea of which loop corresponds to the other loop. You need it to be able to know which loop you are going to use to do your further amplitude work. This is a well tie. This is the log. The one in the middle is the replication of the synthetic 5 times. This is the seismic to the right, seismic to the left of an inline. So you have a well, you take the inline, you take 5 lines here, 5 lines there, and that's what we did. And you can see some, you will say, you don't see good match here. But if you take the cross line, you start seeing better matches. See, for instance, see this place. Better matches here. See. You see here, you have a better match in the cross line. You have better match here. So you can say, this reservoir, if I want to study this reservoir, for instance, I should map this loop. This loop. This loop is what I should map to understand what is going on in this reservoir. So this is the loop that my interpreter will go and start mapping across the seismic volume. And from there, they will now come up with a structural map. There are many ways, many things we can do. Then when we talk about pore fill, you have to check. First, you do your well to seismic match. Secondly, you test, even from your log, whether you can predict hydrocarbon with your seismic wavelet. See what we did before. Only using the well logs, no synthetic applied. Now, you now say, okay, if I apply the synthetic, the wavelet, will I still be able to predict the hydrocarbon? So here, this is pumping in hydrocarbon here. This is the brine. This is the hydrocarbon. Here, this is the brine in a Monte Carlo sense, running it 1,000 times. Realization, changing the reservoir parameters. Can I still predict? This shows yes. Yeah, I can predict the brine from the hydrocarbon, but it will be difficult for me to predict the oil from the gas. What is that type of scenario? Most probably when you have light oil, then it becomes difficult to separate, to be able to predict clearly your oil from your gas. Okay, now, first, let me use this to show you why quantitative, why not qualitative. Why did I say quantitative? Let me explain. See, this is a model. I've made a cartoon. Luckily, I normally draw this on the board, but I thank God I did it here. Let's assume this is a simple wedge model where you have gas, oil, and of course, brine. As you move up, you have increase in your top structure amplitude. Your reservoir amplitude, top reservoir amplitude increases on structure with the presence of hydrocarbon. So in this case, we will say you have an unstructured increase in amplitude. This is what we are having here. You are having, this is the same model. You are having an unstructured increase in amplitude. So when you have this unstructured increase in amplitude, it's a qualitative statement. It's a qualitative statement. Yes, if you have unstructured increase, so also whether it is gas, whether it is oil, you will still have the same unstructured increase in amplitude. Now, when you now come in and you take one of the attributes, in this case, we took the extremum attribute of this, and we do a measurement. This is the brine response. Of course, it will be flat. As you get to where the hydrocarbons start coming in, you see this one, you see an increase. Then, as you get to where the gas effect is coming, you see a steep change in gradient. So here, this amplitude is related to oil, and this is related to gas. So we will say, yes, there is an unstructured increase, but we can now also say, what is the ratio between the amplitude of the oil over the brine and the amplitude of the gas over the brine? So the process of quantifying that is what we call the quantitative assessment of the effect of hydrocarbon. So in this case, we know, and we call such on and off structure ratios. So the on and off structure ratios for gas is 5:1, and for oil is 2:1. So this is a quantitative statement. So if we go to another area and we did a measurement and we got like 4.5, we will know that that amplitude is related more to gas than to oil. If we took a measurement and we have like 2.5 or thereabout, we say it's more related to oil than to gas. So, of course, that is now the quantitative aspect. It's not enough to talk about unstructured increase, but you have to check the magnitude of such a statement. There are many measurements. I will leave this to you, but when we talk about amplitude measurement, there are 1,001. And what is amplitude is the measurement of the different ways the loop behaves around the reference reservoir top that you are interested in. So, therefore, if we want to predict hydrocarbon, we start with a priori model. You take your model from your logs and you build an a priori model. When you build this model, this is the model that I built for one of the jobs I did. And you can see that I've put in oil and gas and water. So this water, this oil, this gas within this small reservoir here. And it shows me that what I should expect will be a polarity reversal at the top of the reservoir. I mean, at the interface between the brine and the oil. And I should expect a flat spot. This is a flat spot. This color is, and is always having a reverse polarity to the top of the structure. So when you talk about a flat spot, you test. If it doesn't have a polarity reversal, if the top of the structure is a negative loop, that polarity, that flat spot must have a positive loop or vice versa. If not, you start to check whether indeed it's a flat spot. So the question, therefore, and from here, we've also established that for oil, it will be 1.25, and for gas, it will be 1.4. And that is what we will now take to our prediction. when we now go to our field, we've already done a priori model. We will now take it to our, what they call it, our field. This is an example. That one I showed you, this is what we did. This is the same thing. Here, you see that flip, because this is actual seismic. Do you see the flat spot? You see it here. And this is the hydrocarbon. This well 1, this line, this well 1, this one, this well 2, this one. Here, we see that when this was done, the first thing they did was they took this as, they thought this thing was a fault. They put in faults because they did not do an a priori model first. So when they saw the flip, they thought it was due to faulting, not knowing that it was due to pore effect. And from there, we were able to tell them that no, this is due to not pore field, but this is not due to faulting, but due to pore field effect. And you can see even in the Semblance cube, you see, it came out as a fault, but it is not fault. That is why it is important to do a priori model. And we're able to tell these people, no. There are still more opportunities. And the opportunities now present themselves. And we say, no, go back. And we were able to show them. And then we were able to tell them, first of all, we started from where the well is. There is a well here. We did our calibration, this contour stack, and we knew this is oil, this is gas. See, in all the cases, you see a buildup for oil and a gradient change for gas. The gradient, the buildup for the gas is steeper compared to that of the oil. And it's always important, this is the on and off structure ratio, 1.25, gas 1.4. This is the same model we had during the a priori model. Okay? So it's always good. There are many telltales that you need to know. Now, let me stop here. There are 1,001 things I want to show you people, but let me quickly move before just 2 minutes. Let me move to so that we can then take questions. If we have time, we will now talk about other things. Let me quickly mention here, otherwise I can talk to you tomorrow on oil and gas, because that is where I've spent the better part of my life, and I'm still consulting for them. But let me whet your appetite on solid mineral. Please set up a course on solid mineral. Please. You get small money, get license, either as an institution or something. So, this is the simplified view of solid mineral opportunities in Nigeria. Very beautiful. It's there. Every state has a mineral to talk about. Every state has something to talk about. Every state. There's no state without solid mineral. And you know what? This thing is increasing every day. Every day we are discovering new mineral hitherto classified as only being seen in Brazil or being seen in other places. I'm spending most of my time on that because it's new to me and it's exciting and I want to make money out of it. Okay, I've not started yet. So the federal government has done a lot, especially with Adegbite, the architect, lately. He's done a good job. He's gotten a good database. Now you can check the database and know areas that are free. Before it was shrouded in secrecy, but now you can, if you have the right to go into the database, you can see it. So I've been interested and I have some interest in these areas. I have interest in lithium, I have interest in talc, clear quartz, and gold. I've also interested, now this gold is now also in Orolu. These are the areas that NAMPET Geophysical owns a license in those areas. So we are building up our licenses as we speak. You know, we believe in that. Another area is bitumen, which I call gold in Nigeria. And these are the areas you see bitumen is still, they are still talking about it, but it's an area where we have to put in an eye, although the capital outlay is also still high. Excuse me. So this is, you know, the controversial gold display in Zamfara. And permit me to say there seems to be a positive correlation between unrest and presence of solid mineral in Nigeria. So don't be fooled. We'll stop. So now, what is the classical flow? First, you get an exploration license. It's 3 years and renewable. After 3 years, you get another 2 years. By then, they expect you to have finished your exploration license, exploration over the block you have been assigned. During this process, you can have what we call SSML, small scale mining lease, which is for 5 years. It's special license. I will encourage you to go for that and don't be greedy. But the EL, you can get up to 200 CU, that is cadastral unit. One cadastral unit is 200 by 200 meters. But for SSML, it's restricted to 15 CU. That means that is 3 kilometers square. If God says amen to you and says that is your way, your generation, your born can never be poor again if you see gold in 3 square kilometers, you know. So from the exploration license, you can split it into smaller units and you you develop them in modules. Or you turn your exploration license to a mining lease, ML, and you develop. Then there is also from your ML, you can start doing lapidary. Lapidary is the downstream, which is value add, like jewelry, gemstone polishing. Those are lapidary. My daughter is into lapidary. All those things you see there, this side, that is her job. So we are really into it. You know, she has her own company. She trained on that, on gemstone making and lapidary. We have the machines. So but in the exploration phase, there's a lot that you need to do. It's just like oil and gas. There's a lot, and there's also a lot of capital outlay, which you need to be aware of. Currently, the government is, the banks are not friendly to giving loan at the exploration phase. And it's not only limited to solid mineral, but also in the oil business, you don't easily get loan for such. So that is upstream, this downstream. We are currently in both. And I think it's something you should please try and look into. You can buy and sell even the ore itself. You can get a license for buying and selling. We just applied, but you have to apply, first of all, to export promotion, which we just finished. Now, we were trying to export, but they said we have to get, before you can get export license for that one, you must have gotten somebody that will buy it from overseas. The outlook, the future outlook for gold is very bright. I got this one about 5 years ago, and you can see it's tallying. Not totally there, but if you look, the growth, that means gold is still the first haven for people to run to whenever there is crisis in the oil business or other areas. This is the geology. Here you have soft soil. So you have gold around here, and the type of gold you have there are in soft soil. So they are normally alluvia, more of alluvia. You can use a scooper to easily, you can easily find them. That's why you see people running to Elisha and Co. There is still gold here. This is Zamfara. You can see. Then here, there are hard rocks. So they are in granite-based rocks. So you need heavy energy to get them out. This is the actual areas where golds are found. Now you can see why you have issues in Zamfara. You know, it has nothing to do with Boko Haram. The first structured gold mine in Nigeria is in Elisha, and I'm proud to come from that place. And it's by Shegilola, okay? Although it's owned by one Canadian, Thor. I don't care. You know, let Thor get it today. Tomorrow, at least, we get it tomorrow. But it's tough, It's tough. But so, my professor, is a long story. he struggled. He did everything to get it set up properly, but he didn't have money, so he has to sell it. So he brought in the Thor Exploration, who came in. They bought it 100% off him and brought him in, so that they can have their own. This is not Father Christmas, but they still put his name for political reasons. So this is their map. So you can see anywhere you see the star here, that's my town. So this is there is the Pan-African lift, which is this. It extends to Dahomey. Then you have this. These are areas that you have gold. That gold is hosted in Nigeria. But it also, gold needs a structure. It's just like oil. That is the beauty. It needs a structure where it will go to. Gold is believed. There are like 3 schools of thought. The one I believe in is gold at temperature and pressure is liquid. So it starts flowing, when there is an opening. And as it comes up, it drops its the heavy metals first. Then it continues to separate until it comes up. So you have the heavy metals, then you have the lighter ones and what have you, and that is in the process of gold coming up. So that is but it has to get a structure, which we call a vein. So in order to, and the process of finding gold or any solid mineral is the same thing like hydrocarbon. You must look for the vein, and you must look for the possible areas where it can be. You go and do your exploration. So the data you need aeromagnetic, you need radiometric data. Radiometric data are uranium, thorium, and potassium data. And with these 3, when combined, it will give you idea of the lithology, or the idea of, in quote, the geology. I'll give you an example. Then you need the shuttle radial topographic map. All of these are airborne geophysical data. This is mainly for elevation. Then you need the geologic map of the area. Currently, aeromagnetic, if you are looking for quartzly gridded, they sell it in cadastral office, 500 by 500. To me, I think that is a good start. It's 30,000 per topo sheet. So you need about 150 to start your study. This high view of the total magnetic index, aeromagnetic of Nigeria. This is the radiometric, like I told you, it's a combination of all thorium, potassium, and what have you. And you can see it's already bringing in, you see here, it's already bringing this one. You see the river Niger, Benue, you see clearly here. And you see here, that means the sediment here is not so thick. So the joint here, I'll show you my area now, is around here. So looking at the structure, it is believed that the hosting structure of gold in Nigeria is controlled by these two mega structures, the Ifewara Breningwari axis, and then the Zamfara shear zone here. Those are the two controlling factors. You see them? The Ifewara is the one that came to Ilesha. This one goes straight. And so you see them running north, south, southwest, southwest, northeast. You see that, and I can show you, see in detail. You see this structure. You also see it in this so-called lineament map of Nigeria. You see, these are the major ones controlling the gold in Nigeria. So here you have Shegilola, you have our own here. Yes, sir.
But as someone has scattered the good deposit in the Mishnah that's outside that line.
I will show you, sir. I've done some study. I hear you. You understand? Yes, but in a gross sense, you will see that all of them are following the same trend. So let's quickly go. So first, I wish, based on Prof's this thing, now let me go through this area. I bought the data around Ilesha, the old states. I have time and I need to study. I don't know much, so I have all the time. So I bought all these things. This is how it looks first, the TMI. So when you apply some filters, you see this one. This is my first interpretation. Prof, see now, it's more detailed than, from a gross perspective, you will, as usual in everything in life, in a gross sense, you will not see the total detail, but the gross sense give you the trend, the regional trend. But now when you start seeing, see, this is the Ifewara. They are now splitted into different fault lines. You see them here? This is my interpretation. This is 1 VD. I don't know whether some of you, the first derivative of the TMI tells you about the shallow accumulations. The 2 VD tells you about deeper accumulations. So you see the different trends. So here, this is Ifewara side. I've done work on all of this, and maybe I over-edited because I didn't want to run foul of people. So that, but this is now the clear structure that you now have. This is what you have here. This is the so-called Ifewara, but if you look at it, it's splitted into several, all following the same trend. You also still have these shear faults, which brings about, like in these areas, you now have pegmatites. You know, so when you are talking about tourmaline and all these things, you see them around that area. So, see, this is Shegilola. This ML, the first ML 7. This Odoiju, I've done work on this. This is a very rich place. This is where Shegilola is making its money. That small bit. And can I tell you, they've bought over all of this. And they've just gone to Kwara. They've bought over, they are now into lithium. Oh boy, you should not just sit down there and not looking at doing something. You know? There's money to be made. You don't understand. That is how we started in oil. And everybody started making, we were busy in the university. I was also in university. I was also a lecturer there. I was thinking I was poor. Whereas if I had done some, prognosing, you understand? Anyway, full stop. We need to stand up and be counted. So this is the process flow. This is my own process flow for my own. You start with data reconnaissance. You have to get your reconnaissance permit before they give you your EL permit. The reconnaissance permit allows you to go anywhere in Nigeria to do reconnaissance, to do exploration, anywhere for 1 year. Nobody will hold you. Then you then get an EL. Then from there, you start working on your structures, using your TMI, using your radiometrics and co. And me, I have a flow. When I get my radiometrics, I will check, are there viable structures? If there are no viable structures, I dump it. In fact, before I purchase any block, I will buy the TMI on it and quickly check before I commit about envelope were between 3 and 5 million. Forget about what is there officially. Don't quote me about it. That is what I say. So if it's not there, I will not go. But if it is there, then I start. I do some ground truthing. Ground truthing is when I say there is a fault, there is a vein, I will go to look for the vein on the field after purchasing this thing. Then when I get it, are there gold shows? You saw me holding some gold. It's from my field work. So yes, then when I do that, if not, I exit. If the gold is okay, then I start doing some work. One of the very costly thing I have in my own case, for instance, is core drilling. Core drilling is very costly. And I learned the University of Lagos is sitting on one. Or they tell me they don't have. The universities have those things. And they're not making money out of it. They are busy doing theory. It said, when people, see, it's $100 per meter. And I need 2 kilometers. So if you look at the money, it's a lot of money, 200,000. So where am I going to get it? Whereas if the universities can just reduce that thing, and give it to us like $50 per meter, they will use it to train their children free of charge. Then they will get more money to finance themselves. As maybe your university can start with IP. IP. You people have IP in Lagos when you are there. So with IP, I will show you what an IP can do. So that is exploration, and then this is development. Development sometimes costs up to exploration phase. I think I put some of this. When you are doing exploration, your aim is to get what we call the Canadian N43101 report. It's a standard report which a CPA can sign on to. CPA, Competent Persons Assessment, and from there, people will finance your project. So it can cost between $450,000 for the exploration phase if you want to get it well. And the development phase can cost between 40 and 80 million US. But when you get it right, it's good. This mine, quickly, let me just, I always start from a review. This is 2 sheets joined together. The one in yellow is where mine is. And this is the 1VD. And if you look, this is what I was telling you. This is the database from the cadastral office. This yellow bulb is here. So you can see that they are following this one. These are the lanes. These are the gold lanes. This one, these are the gold lanes. I've studied this. People are there working as we are sitting down here and making money. And you can see how people have, you see, there is a positive correlation between here. See this place because it's empty. So if you look, if you go into detail, this is the ternary map, and you can see the red is more rich in potassium, and the rich potassium means you have iron in those area. And quickly, this is my own blog. This is the ternary map, and this is the 1VD map. You can see again the gross trend is not northeast, southwest. The trend, which is the gold hosting structures, and this is what I'm chasing here. This one. This is the 6th, which I believe is something like this. That's what I believe is happening. And that's what we are looking for. And we've done some work. We've been able to prove it. These are the detailed work that we did. These are the vein, the one in white. Because see, when you now talk about regional, we were saying northeast, but when you now go into the detail, that's why you have to be careful. You will see that there are, if you have before, if I didn't have this data and I just follow it like this, you will miss, because they've been shifted through the shear faulting that you see coming up within the block. So you see them here. And that is the beauty about the TMI data. So that is what we did. And from there, this is the current position of where we think we are. The yellow is the possible gold deposit area. That is what we think. And this is the planned ground truthing. And when you do ground truthing, so I'm just looking at this block alone, only this block on top here. So this one, when you do ground truthing, this is your fault, your vein line, but you do your trenching or even taking your points perpendicular to your vein so that you will know your area of concentration. And you have to be methodical about them. The farther away from the center of where the gold deposits are, the reduce your grade. That's gram per ton of the deposit you are having will be. For instance, this is the what we got from the result here. We have 46 gram per ton, which is very, very, very high. You know, I did the initial economics based on 5 grams. In fact, in the world, people go for 4 grams. Shegilola's report, I have all of their report, was based on 4 grams per ton. That is based on that they went to the market, and they are making good money now as we speak. So this is, of course, just like gold. I mean, just like oil, any terrain there is gold, there is always, it's not that, it's not that easy, you know. It's rougher to the answer. These things go chop you, what they call some things there. And these are some of the things we had. This is clear quartz. These are some of the golds we got. And those are part of the things. And part of the sampling that is done, you know, this, you can see how the samplings are done. It's not just you go there and just, no, you have to do, as you are digging and this, you have to go and check whether you have the gold and put it down, you see. If you don't see, you go again. So those are the things. No, not yet. No, I'm trying to apply IP now. You know, the next, just to know the shape is one thing, knowing where it is. It's another thing knowing the shape of your deposit, and your IP should give you the so-called chargeability model and it. Currently, I've gotten up to 100 meters before I can get the deposits. That is where the south is easier. Let me, you know, but even in the south now, Segilola is, you know, that's why the Chinese are failing and Segilola is gaining, because the Chinese target alluvia, you know, and they are almost finished. So in the north, you see this assay type of, this is the type where out gold in hard rocks, whereas compared to the south, you know, they are not like this. And this is what I want to use the IP for, you know, the chargeability model, because with this, it helps me to be able to, where is it? Target the actual bodies. But between me and you, what I need most now is core drilling, to be able to, even, you know, with I'm planning, I just told you I'm planning 2 kilometers just to drill 10 wells, 10 holes, 200 by 200. At least I will know the depth of my mineralized zone. So clearly, this is the final thing. What we is now to try and develop them in a modular sense using SSML, just get SSML there, you know, and that's what we are doing. So now let me quickly show you an example of tourmaline, and then I finish. Now, during my quest, I came across this paper by this guy in Brazil or something. He said he used GPR to delineate tourmaline. I was interested because first, my friend has GPR machine. Dr. Unle Adesida. Oh. Okay. Why? What the world because we end up being common because we are trying too much dynamite because we don't know the thing, we don't know where they are all. So when we end up the whole healing of effect. This is effect. But one guy. So that is what is the principle. Then you bring down the thought when you say the energy down and something is very clear where the leak signal. When there is an obstruction, you see distortion in your way forward. Just GPR is being used for environmental studies, and geohazard analysis. Then I say, why can't we do it? So we tried this experiment. And this is the machine. It's a simple machine, In that field, we have two abandoned pits by illegal miners. So we were very excited because we use that as a calibration point because we can know which lithology occurs at which depth. And these were some of the ores, tourmaline, that were taken or recovered from them by the villagers. This they gave us free. That means they will have sold even the good ones. So the place is Fadaka. Fadaka is east of Ife. And we just took a small place. So we were a little bit ambitious, but when we got to the place, we had to reduce the number because we didn't want to sleep in that place. So we just went there. This is the topology of the area. The first pit is up there, 2 pit here, 2 pit here. This is the BL pit. This is the ML pit. And this is the first picture of, we call this radagram. Radagram. Instead of seismic or something, that's the official name. And these are the little boundaries we identify in the field. This one is deeper, and in this 1B, this was where the villagers reported that those guys saw the tourmaline. So we went there. This is from the campaign, the data from the radiogram. You can see that it's it's good for its this thing, almost looking like seismic. And posting this thing, this is BL1, this is BL1B. Now, I told you, if you have if there's no obstruction, well-behaved radiogram, you just see no distortion, nothing, which shows that in this place, no obstruction, paralic. But when you come to this place, you will see that you start having, some distortions. So that means there is something hidden here. The question, or what we seek, was, can we identify the top of the mineralized zone in this area? That was what we went for. And we did crude mapping. First, we knew that at least this intercepted a body here. And you see this body here? We mapped this, we mapped the other one. And we believe this is the mineralized zone here. And you see here, we applied some filters to better reveal what we have there. And you can see we applied some spectral decomposition, and it just revealed what we thought was there. Where are you now? Excellent. Excellent, sir. Excellent. Because that is what we expect. They can never, be continuous unless there is no boundary in between them. But that's excellent observation, sir. And so, you see them in district, and these are fault planes, dividing one body from the other. And see the shape of that tourmaline. They are always, appearing as a body within a body. So that is what we think, and you are totally correct. So you see, sir, this one, 100 hertz. Where is it? 3. I'm coming. Yes, I put it here. I'll just hold on. I wrote it down here. Good point. Where are you now? I put it down somewhere. 100. No, it's not. It's not at all. So you are even running ahead of me. So the question is, what do we see? So what is the depth of the mineralized zone? 10 meters. 10 meters. And there are 2 layers. The first one, 10 meters. Then there is this other one, And you have what we call Rousseau. I don't know, none of you are miners here. That Rousseau is when some of these things are carried by alluvia. So when there is a blockage, some of these things as they are carried, and let's assume the topology is like this, it will be coming and it will be blocked here. Now, all these minerals can pack in one place. And those are the El Dorado for miners. Because you just go there, just carry your own, God-given. So we believe that some of these are Rousseau's, near surface deposits. So again, the faults, because they are not distinct, they are not continuous, they are distinct. And so we now said, again, you see another one. Do you see? Do you see how that fault is controlling that anomalous event there? You see here? To me, I was excited getting this, I didn't expect it, although I knew it should come. But why am I excited? Radiogram is cheaper than seismic.
Yes,
And I have a friend. So anybody now that wants, at least I can be confident to say, look, I know it works. Before, if you give me contract to say, can you tell me where the mineralized zone is? I will not be able to tell you, but now I can tell you confidently. And I think it's, we need to take a look at that. Okay, so what to me, this GPR, I've only applied it to tourmaline. I've not applied it to gold. I will have done so on my field. In fact, my friend also was generous to say, go and test it on your field for gold. But currently there is rain, and it's not the best time to do so. So we will check and see how it's gone. I will not bug you about how to secure the licenses. But there are challenges in solid mineral exploration. First is the difficulty in securing loan, I've told you, to carry out your exploration. And you don't have as much data on solid mineral as you have on oil and gas. It's still 500 by 500. So you don't have so many things. You don't have so many consultants on solid mineral. You have legions of consultants on oil and gas. And you young ones, you can make money out of that. I just set up in Elisha a consultancy for solid mineral. And I just told you, I put my daughter there. She read economics. I said, forget about economy, go do this one. So for lapidary, because I believe that is the future. So we don't have so many local experts. We have this doctor he's chopping money now there. He's a professor now in UI. No, UI. Maybe, you know, I remember. Oh, Kunlola. Thank you, Okunlola. Sir? Oh, It's all through all these, you know. We compare notes a lot. He gave me 3 hours when in discussing my work in detail, and he didn't collect kobo from me. So, and we've participated in many simple chambers of commerce, you know, and what have you, and he's always ready to be there. And they've just set up a place in Ibadan where you can sell your solid minerals. So it's something to do. So he didn't. He told me that is the one that gave me 100,000 per this thing. It's 200,000 for. Do you know 200,000? I'm on 200,000. Obo? Eh? Very expensive. Yes, sir. But that is why I said, how I wish I get rid. I would, you know? Anyway. So concluding remarks on QI. QI can add value through the entire hydrocarbon and solid mineral life. From exploration, you will see that tactically I shifted, you know, some slides, and I'm sorry about that. But I think we need to ground ourselves earlier in the university to be able to key into this concept. First, the concept of working in an integrated setting. Secondly, also knowing at early stage about rock physics. Because the world and the oil companies we have now, they are different from the shells of yesterday. Shell will teach you. Shell will take you to all the schools you can think of. Shell takes you as you don't know anything and they will train you. Now, the NOCs have no time to train you. NOCs, that is Nigerian Oil Company, the marginal fields. So we are looking up to the universities to help, not only in the theory, but also in the practical. And I appreciate Prof for bringing me here. So we need to make sure that even in our universities, the last project, instead of promoting individuals to write projects and submit silo projects, I think as geosciences, we should work across disciplines. How I wish we have a project where the geologists, we come from geology department, we take it now, no more at geoscience, I mean, we're not more at geoscience, we take it up where we say, we have an issue here. We want to prospectivity review. Give them a field. Even if they have discovered it, remove the wells. Don't show them. Let them recreate it. It's fun. But we are still working in silos. We still believe in our discipline. No single discipline can find oil. No, none. Not even the best. So please, I think that is very important. And secondly, let's teach our students to be more business focused. There is too much grammar. I'm not saying it's good, it's bad, but the first, how many years we spent in university now? 4 years. 3 years don't do for grammar now. Sorry, I mean, the 4th year should be more of a application now, because the world there is wicked. If you go to this thing and start telling me grammar, how this thing, I say go moral support. Okay, you don't know that. How much is moral support? You have to show me what you can deliver to my company before I can employ you. So to me, the university is the key. Then, not only that the government should encourage companies to own oil blocks, but they should finance, solid mineral blocks, but they should finance them in a cooperative setting. All these artisanal people that we are having, why not set them up in a cooperative body? That is part of my focus as Osun Sima, current chairman of the trade group for mine. That is what I'm trying to promote. Why not come together, Ilesha Chamber, Ife Chamber, then let them come in, get their own block, even if it is small, and go to the bank to be financed. It's possible, it's doable. So, there are many people that I've worked with and I've cited their presentations and the results. I want to thank them. Some in Shell, I want to thank my partners in the Atlantic Subsurface Energy and Geoterrain. I just told you that Geoterrain gave me GPR machine to use, and I'm grateful to them. I want to thank Dr. Balogun for hosting me. I'm grateful. I want to thank the people that took me to the hotel yesterday. Thank you. I'm grateful. And my friend there, I saw him at the back. I'm grateful. Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you that attended the lecture. I call it the lecture. I want to thank, the Dean and the special guests. I'm grateful. I hope we are not bored by my theory of impedance. So I want to especially thank you, Prof. I'm always proud of you, and I wish you well. We've been there now, since now, and you are just a great guy. And thank you very much for keeping the flag flying. I appreciate you. Thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful presentation. You all agree with me that this is more than a seminar. This is a robust lecture, I will call. And there is no doubt we have all learned a lot of things today. Different means of quantitative interpretation of seismic data and well logs, and also the applications in the solid mineral industries. So we have said a lot, and time is far spent. So the next item on the agenda is questions and answer sessions. So in the course of the presentation, if you have any questions, for the guest lecturer, this is the time to ask if there are contributions that can also be made. This is the time. And for those of our colleagues who are joining us virtually, if they are listening to us and they have questions, they can also ask, and they will have them presented to the guest lecturer. So are there any questions? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have about 5. Any? Okay, so, okay, 6. All right, so let's start with the HOD.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know whether you would like to attend to them one after the other, or you take okay, maybe she take them together. All right.
Thank you, sir. And Dr. Peterson, sir, I most sincerely appreciate the wonderful lectures, the efforts you have taken to put together the slides so that it could be explanatory. And thanks for being so explicit, sir. We are really, really grateful for this. And this lecture, for some of us, it will remain indelible in our memory. So let me just say, I just want to give a bit of narration of my venture before I joined the academics, because I think that I didn't succeed because of lack of mentorship. This is what is clear from your lecture. So I will just give a bit of it, and I will be expecting to look up to you, even if I try to still look outside again. So, and when I was leaving school, I had my objectives. I have them clearly mapped out, that I'm going out there to join the industry. And what do I want to get from there? I want to come up with a firm or that can compete favorably with the IOCs, come up with that. And I know that with that, I'm also going to be interested in mining, not even oil and gas mining. So then I was working on that. I knew I needed knowledge. So I got a master's degree. Then I tried to venture into solid mineral around Elisha axis too. So I work with, and I also developed my workflow, because I know that for somebody who doesn't have resources to throw around, the data must be gotten right, and at least to develop your workflow such that the confidence in your model is very good. So all of those I worked about. So I started contacting people in Abuja, like, okay, and the coordinate of the place. Some places I went to also check even, but I met people in those places. Some are cocoa plantation in Oshu. I met people there. I met Chinese there. I met Hausas there. And in fact, I went with a friend sometimes that they had this club that they used to threaten us out of the place. So then I spoke with some people in Abuja. They referred me to cadastral survey. I spoke with them. They gave me the conditions. Part of the conditions is even that I will have to settle people, the landowners. So that was too much for me. So then I gave up. I joined the academics and I never looked outside again. So, sir, I don't know, will you be available for mentorship for people who really want to be mentored through the process? Some of us had interest. Some of us, even our objective initially was not to come to the academia, but to create companies that can compete favorably with the IOCs. But unfortunately, we couldn't compete, and we have to. Yes. Thank you, sir. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for your lecture. It's like Dr. Balogun read my mind. My first question here says, I was going to ask how you deal with fierce illegal miners, because I've had the opportunity to, in the course of study, mainly for research, to visit quite a number of mining area, Oshun and some other places. And the experiences were not funny. Even when we had, we consulted the traditional rulers, they will still come up with issues. You can't take picture, you can't do this. So I'm wondering, with your recognizer's license, how were you able to penetrate those areas with those existing people there? Yeah, the second one I was going to ask, more like a comment, but I would really love to hear your view on this. You did mention that in your days, what happened is IOC employed and they trained people. Now it looks like what the industry is looking for is a jack of all trades, as you put it. Somebody who is coming from school, who had just finished NYC, and is well grounded in all aspects of geoscience. Geology, stratigraphy, petrophysics, geomechanics. Sometimes it feels like an unrealistic dream to me, because knowing fully well that to raise someone to have been well grounded in all this field within the space of 4 years, perhaps with just 6 months sideways experience, looks unrealistic. I would love to know your thought on this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Monsaf, Doctor, for the lecture. There are two questions, really. One is actually more of a comment. On the issue of solid mineral exploration, I remember the friend of mine who is currently based in Calgary actually talked about an experience he had coming back to Nigeria to want to explore, invest in bitumen. In fact, the encounter he had was that was when Fayemi was the Minister of Solid Minerals. The problem was that most of the oil license for bitumen had been given out to Bakabas from the north. So by the time he came in with his team from Calgary, they had investment proof for almost $50 million to put in. But they were told that they have to go to Kaduna to meet a particular Alhaji who have been holding on to that license for more than 20 years. And it was a challenge because by the time they got to the man, this was live. He was telling me, he said, they met the man said, look, I don't know even where that place is. But when they were sharing the license like Dundun, I think it was Obasanjo that they shared those licenses, that he got his own, he doesn't even know where the license is, somewhere in Ondo State. But whatever they take from there, he gets 50%, they can keep the 50%. And I said, okay, fine. If you're going to get 50% of a business, you two are going to put in 50%. I said, no, he owns the license. So if you guys are going to put in $50 million and bitumen can be upgraded and be refined to crude oil and sold and things like that, you will get 50% of the profit. And with that, the Canadian bank banked out and the whole project collapsed. The second one is slightly related to what my colleague said. Yes, you said in those days in Shell, they trained. The early paleontologists in Shell, they were high school graduates. They entered Shell in the 50s, 60s, and they were trained by those guys. Today now, the industry wants ready-made graduates. And there's this snag that universities are producing poorly baked graduates and things like that. I always feel that statement is always unfair. There is no university in the world that produces industry-ready graduates. What most top oil and gas schools do is to collaborate directly with the industry, be it Imperial College, London, Texas, and whatever. They collaborate. In fact, I came across a graduate from Imperial College when I was working in Port Harcourt. And what the guy told me was that even the softwares, the workstations, were directly from Schlumberger. They were working with live data. Schlumberger guys were resuming in the university. They had an office. So it's not about just donating softwares. They had live projects. Nowadays, now, university, somebody's doing master's, PhD, they give him one data that they've sucked the damn thing out. There's nothing. Even when he finishes his PhD, he dumps the thesis in one shelf. He's battling to survive. So I don't know, how do you want that person to integrate? We are producing graduates. Many of them, they have no place to put in their skill. So the industry, yes, they donate softwares. But if you are going to have the industry student university relationship, it should go beyond just donation. We need to tax. Most universities, we have guys with PhDs in petroleum geophysics and rest of them. What are we doing with these things? So it's a challenge. They've discussed at NAPE conferences. They say, okay, fine, we'll NAPE, UAP, and rest. But it's a snag. That is why you find somebody with a master's degree in petroleum geology, it doesn't go beyond the theoretical thing that he has done. Except he's lucky. He gets himself in an oil servicing firm. Most of the oil servicing firms operate like slave shops. They use you. If you are thinking you are going to be rich in them, you are joking. But you get the work experience. Then if heaven smiles on you, you will end up in one of the big companies. If not, you end up whether in the academia or you just branch. I've seen guys who work in quad mod logging. They are now selling, what's it called? Biscuits, just to survive. They've had 20 years of experience in biostratigraphy. What are they doing now? Something completely related. And that wealth of experience, somebody who has analyzed over 200 wells, got Shell, Mobil, whatever. We've done several wells for Shell. But at the end of the day, they end up after working for some years, the company folds up. Many oil servicing firms are down now, right now. It's the worst period. And oil and gas is pretty messed up right now. Many. I worked with the man I worked for, had the biggest biostrat firm in West Africa. At a point, he said his grandchildren told him he's had enough. Money everywhere. He had money, properties, but he was not ready to hand over to push the company to the next level. And the big IOCs are not giving out jobs. The marginal operators are just using secondary data. So that's the challenge we are facing. For a school like this, how do we get our students to that level where they can interface directly with the guys who run the data? They are using live data, not some dead data that I don't really that this is end up in the shelf and nobody's looking at it. That's the challenge we face in the industry, in the university. Thank you, sir.
Sir. First of all, we appreciate the lecture, and it's really a time that I enjoyed. And I want to ask a question, sir. As somebody coming from different background that doesn't have a geology background or mining background, and it's very interesting. I was interested in these aspects. How would that person start? What will that person do to incorporate into the business? And another question is, as an IT person, what can that person do with that IT field in the mining section? Thank you.
Okay, sir. I really must say that the lecture was very, very comprehensive, and I benefited a lot from it. I learned a lot from it. But my questions is to maybe bring geophysics into some more perspective regarding on how it has been applied, especially for the solid mineral. I saw that the study started with the airborne survey. And I know that for the airborne magnetic data that was used, the resolution, when it is compared with ground magnetic, will not be as much as we will get for the ground magnetics. But I think somewhere during the lecture, you mentioned that ground magnetic was also conducted in some maybe specific parts. So I want to know to what extent, how many profiles, what are the profile spacings, station spacings, because this can help us maybe locate those structures more clearly than how we would locate it with the airborne magnetic data. And also, the magnetic data, as you rightly said, sir, it will delineate the structures. It will delineate, identify those structures for us, and then we are now to maybe ground truth the structure, now try to see if we will get to the gold. But other geophysical method, as you said, like the IP method, is going to tell us if there is a gold, if what we have there is gold based on the chargeability. It is going to tell us, because gold occurs in disseminated form. And because it occurs in disseminated form, unlike maybe the resistivity method, if it were to be in the massive form, yes, in no geophysical, we still have to maybe drill to get to it, to confirm it. Yes. It's not going to tell us exactly but he's going to tell us based on chargeability, unlike the other methods that will show us structures, that we know that what we are mapping is structure. For the IP, we are going to get the region of high chargeability, and then it can give us more information. Another method that I'm also thinking is the EM method, because gold is conductive, very conductive. So if we also do like ground EM, also along maybe traverses where we have done the IP, it is also going to be very diagnostic. So the extent of the geophysical methods that will be carried out can give us a lot of information. Now, another question, the question I want to ask again is, I realize that the study area is around the Bida Basin, around Niger State, which falls within the Bida Basin. And from literature that I have read, I understand that the Bida Basin is not as deep as the Niger Delta and maybe some other basin. Maybe the Bida Basin maximum sediment thickness is around 3 kilometers, 3.5 kilometers. But there are places in the Bida Basin where the sediment thickness is around 500 meters, not up to 1 kilometer, 700 meters. So my question is this, that the sediments beneath that place, do we have an idea of the thickness? Because if you are looking at drilling hole of 2 kilometers, and that place has sediment thickness of, say, 700 meters, it means that it may be cheaper to do the coring, because the whole sediment thickness is 700 meters as against the 2 kilometer that is initially proposed. So I think that we need to look into that so that we can have more information about the place. Thank you, sir.
In the last, not the least. Okay, all right.
Few comments, more on the side of the citizen now. I know for good in Elisha, as far back as 88, 89, when I was in Elisha, they have been taking the gold. I know some big people in Lagos today that they were stealing the gold that time, but nobody cares about it that time. I just look at the possible environmental degradation. What is the likelihood? Because I'm sure most of the aquifer will have been destroyed. What is the plan of the owner of those blocks in terms of making provision for groundwater for the people there? Because I'm sure with time, even if they are not having problem now, with time, they are going to run into problem of groundwater. Then two, what's the measure being put in place to ensure that there's minimal environmental degradation? The just mining sites in the past, they were just mining tin and all those things from there. But now it became a big issue. At the time, it turns to pond, and then water with poisonous material, people taking things from there, and then just die one by one. So what measure is being put in place to ensure that the life of the citizens are protected, and at the same time, we have a minimal environmental impact?
Thank you.
Thank you, sirs. So, mentorship. Number one, I started from the university. I was, my initial life goal was to be the youngest professor, you know. So I was doing everything, reading. I was looking at normal families, how money no day, so don't get me wrong, But it's fun. Education has its own days. It may not put money in your pocket, but it widens this bloody brain, So I think it's if I had to move to the oil, I moved from the NDA, Nigerian Defense Academy. We were the pioneering staff of the Nigerian Defense Academy University. We were the pioneering members, and it was fun. We were staying in Chalawa Crescent. We had access to everything. By then, I've not known my savior. So all the mess, around Kaduna, where you live they were under our control. But I don't think I was happy. So moving to Shell was an eye-opener to me. First, that I can enjoy my life and still make money. It gives you some, some freedom. And sorry, I love Shell, okay? Shell also gives you opportunity to be yourself. It's not easy, let me tell you. There are times I cried, run to my wife at home, start crying. You say, am I the only person there? Go back. So it was so tough. So I think the decision one makes at a certain stage in life, it's not dependent on that person. There is how will I put it now? There's an element of luck, an element of something outside of you. I got annoyed to go to Shell, not because I was tired of NDA, but I was doing my PhD, and then I was given 6 weeks college on Raman surfaces in Trieste, Italy, the International Center for Theoretical Physics, and I was to go there. So I asked NDA to give me sponsorship, 1,000. Because that time, ICTP, we take care of everything. Sorry for telling the story, it may help somebody here. So I didn't have the 1,000. 1,000 was big. Lecturer 2, that time was 11,000 naira for a whole year. I'm not saying, I'm talking of 1987, the whole total package. So they didn't give me. I asked to be given a loan. They didn't give me. Paul Taffa, Major General Paul Taffa was our commandant there. So that annoyed me. That is what annoyed me. So I saw one of my bank manager friend, Mr. Okafo. So we were in beer parlor. He said, wait, happen. I say, look, this is because I was not taking as I used to take. He said, what happened? I narrated the story. He said, is that all my problem? I should come. I went to his bank. He was the general manager of People's Bank then. And he counted 1,000 and gave to me. That's how I was able to go to Trieste. But before going, I saw an application in Guardian. Shell was looking for people. That's how I applied. I applied in annoyance. I didn't even know what they sell. So what is the summary? I don't know. There is a question of luck, something outside of yourself that will put pepper for your body, you know. So if you ask those people that have really got into a certain, they will tell you, if they are sincere with themselves, they will tell you they didn't plan it. Don't, you know, me, I didn't plan many of it. So when I found myself in Shell, I thank God I didn't know Shell very well. Because I didn't even bargain for my money. I didn't even know I was taking on 12,333 naira for a whole year. You know, that's when they remove tax, my money will remain 870 something, 79. You know, you can never forget that thing. When I was in NDA, I had everything. AC, cushion chair, bonus, but they were not my own. When you look at the back, you will see, okay, you put no the putter here. You will see NDA stroke. So when I left the NDA, there was nothing. So what am I saying? Mentorship. I think the best mentor is this, is still our Savior through the Holy Spirit. And may our offer push us to him. That is all I can say. So, that is all I can say. So it's good to have an experience in the university. Up to tomorrow, I believe that. And it's good to have an experience in the industry. I believe that. I believe that. Prof, we're just talking about one person now. Don't let us mention his name again. He said he was the richest among, of course, because he had a link with, he's still consulting for Segilola. We still invite him for our chambers of commerce and industry. You can still be in the university and have a link outside. Don't stay in your cocoon. Don't stay in your cocoon. Don't stay in your cocoon. I came here because of Prof. I'm not hungry. I'm sorry, I don't, I came because of him. And when I told two of my friends, they said, 3. So that means he had an impact. and the landowner will not be able to resist. There was a case where one of the members of the landowner was making noise because he's from overseas. Now one of the Baba in the house said, they may tell her, how much has he brought to them since he went overseas? So, and of course, the Chinese are ruthless. So, what do? Let me combine it with what Prof asked me. What are the land people? Recently, the federal government set up in each state, especially states that have mineral, almost all like a group called the Red Tent, Mineral Remediation for Environment and something, you know. These are police, environmental policemen that have been set up to police the mining groups. So if they have the right to stop any illegal miner, they have the right, even if you are not illegal, you are not doing it right, they have the right to prosecute you. But what has it turned into? At least the one I know in Osun State, it's turned into Colgate. I'm not saying no, Colgate can be anything anyway. So that when you look at that, the federal government is very good potential. And that was set up by this guy too, this Adibitest. He did some good job. So, to me, how do we get out of this? I still believe that each state would empower our own people. I wrote a position paper to Osun State government. This last one, this current one, they have 7 licenses, mining licenses, all over the country. And they gave me one. Although I've relinquished it, you know, they gave me one during our reference solar because their money, they were asking for 100 million when it was came. I said, I'm not doing it. You know, but I said, instead of the work that this Osun State government has in Osun State, why can't you divide it among the owners of the land and go into partnership with the owners of the land? For instance, in the Gaga community, they have almost 200 CU. Why not give like 20 CU to the community? Okay? Divide it into small settlements so that there will be no fight within this community and another. And enter into an SPV, special purpose vehicle, so that the state government has 60%, the communities have 40%. But the community do not have money. So the government can join with them to go and borrow money to invest in that. And when they start producing, they can share the whole thing. They took it to Abuja. This is what I'm going to tell you. They took it to Abuja. They have approved it now. For the at least the better people. You know what? That is the only way. You can't stop illegal miners. You can't stop. You know, they start their work by 2 a.m. or 12 midnight, and they, by 3, they've That's all. They wear this thing with a torchlight. Yes. And you know what? When the body is big, people are ready to take the risk. You know. So grounding, what do I mean on grounding on all of the disciplines? Okay. Now, it is important that we still have the disciplines. Don't get me wrong. The geologists should still do geology. The geophysicists should still do geophysics. The reservoir engineer should still do reservoir engineering. But I am saying there should be collaboration, because none of these groups can find oil in themselves. That is one. So the question, and you are right, where should the collaboration or the collaboration start? I believe in the university. Start from your projects. You know, and the best thing that has ever happened to the university is sewage. I took some of them in my district. I knew what, at least they learned, if not the dignity of labor. You know, we give them, you know, some money to help them, but we don't pay them the way we pay our staff. And if they didn't come work like we work, we fire them. You know, to me that is one of the best. And the pick up practical I was engaged to people from Ilorin. I called them for interview. When they were doing specimen, I noticed they cannot go to. So they say, when do they get late? I say, very soon. I hope I will. So, because you see, we have bitumen about. See, that somebody stated that I think those people from overseas that came with 50 million, when my people will say, oh, me, they are not serious. And they don't know how mining business is done in Nigeria. They had a very good deal, but they did not have good advice. The man is the owner of the land. I mean, based on what you said, he said, go and you bring your 50 million. I mean, he says spend 50 million. Then we will share the profit. I mean, 50-50.
Sorry, sir. From what you do was that in banks, that kind of work. When the thinking of, okay, fine, you are putting money together. You're asking, you want to change of our profits. You want to 2% of our profits. You want to take 2% of the.
I am saying they don't know what they should have come for consultation. The man saying they will share 50% of the profits. What does that mean? Before you start declaring profit, you must recoup all your money. Isn't it? After all, you are the operator. You are the operator. It is what you declare that it is. You know, if I get that opportunity, I will ask you 1 to 1 So, how do you have industry university partnerships? To me, is first 1-to-1. 1-to-1. Prof invited me now Okay, maybe invite another person. We were talking with one friend this morning. And I said, okay, I will link you up with one of my friends. Okay, for those, you don't start with, when you talk of industry, you don't start with the big industry. You start with the small industry. Maybe even the fact that they will take your staff, your students. Then from there, you look at the so-called chairs. How do they start? There has professorial chairs in all these they didn't start like that. It is from their students. Remember that introduced them. If I didn't know Prof, I know content. Sorry, I've been saying no, empty. You understand? So from there, another person come. Then from what I say, this thing going on there, and please target first the Nigerian oil companies. The big national oil companies are going. Unless God comes Nigeria around, it will be tough. Then how do you come into oil and gas mining from mining? That is a good question. I think when I started in Shell, part of my experience was in IT. I was opportunity to start to be part of the first 3D workstations. And during that process, I was working in Shell, and I was looking over the shoulder of my colleagues who are doing interpretation, who are doing geology, who are doing geophysics. Remember, I'm a bloody unrepentant mathematician. And it was from there I set up parallel project for myself so that I will not destroy their project. Anything they create, I will try. From there, I started speaking their language. In fact, in IT, you can divert to different areas. In fact, data management is foundational in E&P now. And every discipline will respect you because there is what we call interoperability. So for data flow between the different applications, your IT system must be robust. So what are the spacing for TMI? What you talk about the TMI and other things, first of all, my block is not in the Bida Basin. Secondly, okay, thank you. Secondly, when you are in exploration phase, you don't put all your, you don't throw in all the dagger. Just like the oil business. You don't throw in everything and start putting in a detailed review. No. Those things will come as you go from one level to the other. You start with coarse data. Can you use that to map your structures? After that, the next thing is, can you do high resolution? Then after that, because the focus is not doing the review. I'm telling you, if I can get what I need from coarse data, I will do it. So that's what I will say. And the 2,000 meters I said, that is 2 kilometers, is the total. So see, when I said, so I drill 200, so I need 10 holes. So 200, that's 400, 200, 200. So the total is 2,000 because it is me that will pay for the whole thing. So 2,000 times 100 That is part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I want to believe that justice has been done to all the questions presented to the guest lecturer. So time is fast spent. The next thing is a presentation of award, and that will be done by our Vice Chancellor.
I think guest lecturer deserve another round of applause. Thank you very much. You can't be bored when you are with Dr. Peterson. And he can lecture like that for 24 hours. So if you don't tell him to stop, he will not stop. So that's why we have to write paper to him and so stop. Very easy for him to do. And thank you for your commitment to improvement in academics and the industry in Nigeria. The good Lord will continue to uphold you and strengthen you. We will bring you back. Next time we bring you back, our focus will be on AVO. So, today you have taken us from seismic to borehole, from borehole to geomechanics, and from there to GPR. So I'm sure, although for those at lower level, it may be a bit advanced for them, but I believe for the rest, they're able to flow easily with you. We really appreciate this, and I'm impressed with what you have done. On behalf of the university management, we want to present this to you. Where can we do that? Huh? Is that place not dark? Okay. Thank you so much. If you attend this AVU class, it will take it like a primary school subject. Time was thank you very much. I want to thank you.
Thank you so much, VC. And the next item is in 1 minute, we want to call on Dr. Adipeyin to give a vote of thanks. Just a minute.
All right. Thank you very much. To everything that has an end, a beginning, there must be an end. So we are coming to the end of today's seminar. We'd like to say a big thank you to you, sir. Thank you for coming to share your depth of knowledge. Have been blessed, and I'm sure so many of us have also been blessed. We'd like to appreciate our amiable Vice Chancellor. Thank you for coming, sir. Our Dean, thank you very much. To my colleagues in geosciences, thank you so much for making this happen. To every other person here, our students and colleagues, we say thank you. We hope that the next time when we call, you will do us the favor of associating with us. God bless you.
Thank you very much. The last item, we started with prayer, and we are going to end with prayer. And so therefore, I call on Mr. Ojenebo to give us the closing prayer.
Let's stand up and close our eyes. And so, Father, we thank you for today. Thank you, Lord, for making today a success. Thank you for the guest speaker. Thank you for our dignitaries that attended. Thank you for all those who make our time to attend this great lecture. We give you all the glory in Jesus' name. As we depart, O Lord, Father, be with us. Be with our guest lecturer. Bless him even the more. Guide our leadership. As a VC has honored us to be here, Father, O Lord, honor him as well. Our deans, honor him as well. We give you all the glory for our students and our staffs. Father, O Lord, be with us all today in Jesus' name. Thank you, Heavenly Father, O Lord. The knowledge gained today, Father, O Lord,